Dozens of times each day, with the flick of a switch, each one of us taps into vast sources of energy. Deep veins of coal and great reservoirs of oil. Sweeping winds and rushing waters. The hidden power of the atom and the radiance of the sun itself, all transformed into electricity, the workhorse of the modern world. What started in Thomas Edison's workshop in 1879 has grown to become a complex network of transmission lines, substations, and power plants that crisscrosses North America and has been dubbed by many as the most complex machine ever devised by man. In the central United States, MISO manages this superhighway of electricity. Through the use of groundbreaking research and advanced technology, our highly skilled employees make sure that man's most complex machine works reliably, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, providing dependable energy to our member utilities and the customers that they serve. Headquartered in Carmel, Indiana, with control centers in Carmel, Indiana and St. Paul, Minnesota, MISO acts as an air traffic controller for the electric grid, controlling nearly 60,000 miles of high-voltage transmission lines and more than 1,000 power plants capable of generating nearly 146 billion watts of electricity. This vast infrastructure spans 11 states, plus the Canadian province of Manitoba, and is owned by more than 750 individual companies, each of whom has turned over operational control of their transmission and generation equipment to MISO. Just as an officer directs vehicles to keep rush hour traffic running smoothly, MISO is the not-for-profit gatekeeper that directs the transport of billions of watts of electricity across the grid, making sure behind the scenes that the system is operating safely and efficiently. As an independent regional transmission organization, or RTO, MISO provides equal and unbiased access to the electric grid, connecting buyers and sellers of energy to meet the electrical energy needs of more than 40 million people every day. The electricity that MISO manages is a unique commodity, in that it must be generated at the same instant it's consumed. Therefore, every time a light is turned on, a computer is powered down, or a factory starts up, the output of a generator somewhere on the system must be adjusted. This delicate high-wire act of balancing the total power generated with the total power consumed demands constant vigilance. The slightest disruption to this balance can result in an interruption of service, up to and including a collapse of the entire electrical grid. Using sophisticated data analysis tools, MISO forecasts the expected demand for each hour of every day and creates a roadmap for delivery. Through a process called security-constrained economic dispatch, MISO utilizes the most cost-effective solution possible to balance injections and withdrawals of energy on the grid, constantly making sure that there is enough energy to reliably meet demand. Directing energy traffic is just part of what MISO does. Keeping the lights on also requires planning ahead. Planning ahead to find least cost solutions helps investors and regulators alike decide where to locate new power plants or transmission lines. Planning for our future power needs is an essential function of MISO. Today, MISO manages the combined assets of all its members as a single system, providing greater reliability, greater transparency, and greater efficiency than was previously possible. Before MISO, each utility served its customers in isolation, keeping power supplies in reserve just in case something happened. The utilities optimized the use of their own equipment, but often at the expense of the larger electrical system. While this approach worked, it wasn't efficient, both in terms of cost and use of the transmission lines. But everything changed in 1996, when the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or FERC, issued a series of landmark regulations designed to open up wholesale power competition in the central United States. These orders also led to the voluntary formation of MISO in 1998. The utilities that formed MISO realized that they could provide tremendous value to their customers and society by establishing MISO as an independent organization to manage their combined transmission systems as one and provide non-discriminatory open access to all. Today, MISO carries out FERC's vision by managing energy markets that bring together buyers and sellers of energy to ensure the most efficient dispatch of available megawatts, while maintaining the reliability of the grid. The benefits speak for themselves: price transparency, improved reliability, and more efficient use of the region's interconnected transmission network. MISO currently operates 3 markets: a day-ahead market, a financial transmission rights market, and a real-time market. Each of these markets is financially binding and settled separately. Participants in MISO's day-ahead market submit information on the amount of energy they expect to either use or provide. Then, similar to the way you would map out your travel route and calculate the costs involved in making it to your final destination, MISO examines these bids and offers, checks the load forecast for the time period, taking into consideration factors such as the physical limits of the power lines and potential outages for system or facility repairs, then chooses the least cost options for getting the power to where it's needed. The day-ahead market sets energy prices for each commercial pricing location in the MISO service territory. With a transparent bid and offer system, buyers and sellers are in a better position to manage their energy transactions. MISO's FTR market offers a tradable financial instrument called a financial transmission right, or FTR. An FTR helps buyers and sellers of energy avoid costs from congestion on the grid. This congestion is similar to a traffic jam on the freeway and occurs when a section of the grid can't handle any more energy. The real-time market reflects the actions MISO takes to balance moment-to-moment supply and demand changes on the grid. Dispatch signals are updated every 5 minutes based on actual system conditions, telling each power plant when to produce energy and how much. Prices are also updated every 5 minutes, showing participants the true cost of moving energy from one place to another at a particular point in time. In addition to dispatching generation to meet demand, MISO is also required to hold some generation in reserve for emergencies. These reserves are known as ancillary services and are essential to reliably balancing supply and demand in real time. Buyers and sellers in our day-ahead market may also bid into our markets for these ancillary services products. Sound confusing? Let's see if we can help. We'll start with this basic illustration of how things were done before MISO existed. 3 companies own power plants P1, P2, and P3, as well as demand setters D1, D2, and D3. Think of a demand setter as a town or city that uses electricity. Before MISO, each company operated independently and primarily relied on its own power plants to meet its demand. A company only imported energy from a neighboring company when it could not fully serve its own demand. As a result, all 3 power plants, P1, P2, and P3, are on all the time, whether fully utilized or not. Furthermore, the cost to run P1, P2, and P3 vary greatly. P1 is cheap to run, and P3 is expensive. The overall cost to the system is inefficient. These inefficiencies were paid for by customers like you and me. If the demand of all 3 companies were added together and considered as a whole, then during the peak hour of most days, only the 2 cheaper power plants, P1 and P2, would be needed to serve all the demand, D1, D2, and D3. P3 would rarely be needed. And only P1, the cheapest power plant, would be needed to serve the loads during the off-peak hours, usually the middle of the night when we are sleeping. So, how could the actions of 3 separate companies be coordinated in such a way that the inefficiencies across the entire system are always minimized? This is where MISO's energy markets come in. As participants in MISO's markets, the 3 companies turn over the operational control of their power plants and transmission lines to MISO. Each power plant then submits hourly supply offers that represent how much energy they can supply and at what cost. And each demand center submits hourly demand bids that represent their forecasted energy demand and the price they are willing to pay for it. MISO then compares and accepts the most cost-efficient supply offers to meet the demand bids. This decision process is called market clearing. The accepted offers and bids represent an energy production and consumption schedule that provides the greatest overall benefit to society. Market clearing ensures that the cheapest power plants, such as P1, are called on to meet demand before higher-priced plants like P2. and that the most expensive units like P3 are only called on once all lower priced options have been exhausted. During off-peak hours, only P1 is dispatched. MISO is also responsible for the physical transmission system. This means making sure that the energy cleared is delivered reliably, without overloading the transmission lines. Of course, the MISO network is much larger and more complex than this simple example. Energy prices can vary constantly by power plant or demand location. Therefore, every 5 minutes, MISO calculates a new dispatch solution containing instructions for each power plant on the system. The power plants then follow these instructions until they receive the next set of instructions 5 minutes later. These instructions are based on up-to-the-minute grid conditions and power plant prices. The success of MISO's open and transparent markets is a testament to the ongoing collaborative relationships we enjoy with member utilities, state and federal regulators, and buyers and sellers of wholesale energy across North America. So the next time you watch TV, use a computer, or turn on the light, rest assured, MISO will be hard at work, managing man's most complex machine to provide the energy that powers our lives.